Started the recording. So what did you feel were the root problems that Barbara Norris was facing?
She's facing, I mean, she wants the new challenge, okay? She wants the new challenge. She's motivated. She's happy with it. But according to what I read, the nurses and I mean, there was not enough motivation for them to improve. I mean, they were like stabbing on their backs and back home stroking on their backs. There wasn't a team spirit. Okay, so besides that, one of the nurses said that, I mean, everybody's receiving the same salary, so there's no point on improving anything. You know? So it was very challenging for her.
Yeah. Yeah, something that stood out to me a lot was she started working at 6:30.
Yes.
A normal shift for a nurse here is getting off 12 hours later. So she should have been getting off at 6:30 p.m. and it was already 10. And she was planning on staying another 2 hours. So to me, that showed that Barbara didn't trust any of the other nurses to hand off a shift. So that's not good. And then it also said that the doctors looked down at the nurses more as like maids than caretakers. And then another one was, I mean, I think the biggest one was they're understaffed, but then the hospital said that they can't hire anybody because they put a hiring freeze out.
And that became a challenge because the new nurses were less expertise, I mean, less experienced in what it was needed there. So
yeah, because they were on float pool, and that's nurses that just go all around the hospital and change every day. So they were getting different nurses every day.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I mean that's going to be impossible, especially in a general surgical unit. It's going to be hard for them to know what they need to do without at least a little bit of background. I thought that there were just so many problems that they were seeing on that, as far as problems in the department. I mean, when you're known throughout the hospital as a bad department, that's not a good sign.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So how do you think Barbara's done in the first month as the nurse manager?
I mean, everything was challenging for her. Okay. Everything was challenging for her, but she organized a meeting with them. So she organized a meeting with them. And in that meeting, she presented the things that could improve.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that her having that meeting was one of the few things that she did well in the first month. Go ahead.
As you mentioned, no? As we mentioned previously, I mean, we were talking about the challenges she was facing. So as a consequence, you cannot change in a month, or you cannot change in 2 months what it's been done for many, for a long time, and it created like a culture within the work environment. So
yeah,
it is something that is going to take time, but If the
Yep.
question says, what did she do? I mean, I think she did the best. And as you mentioned, one of the things she did good, it was this meeting to analyze with the staff what was going on. But yeah, I agree with you on that. No? That she did this was something good.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, she started things off kind of poorly. And I'm not saying that because I don't think that she could do the job. I think it's because she's so focused on doing the job that she's working insane hours, but it's showing the rest of her staff that she doesn't trust them. And when you don't show trust in your staff, they're not going to want to work well for you. So I think that's one problem that she did. And I don't think she even noticed that she did it. I think that she's just like, okay, I want to make sure that these shifts go well. So I'm going to stay here for the beginning of each shift. But I think that diminishes the rapport she has and the culture within the department.
Actually, as you mentioned, it doesn't help. I mean,
Yeah.
People you work with, if you don't show your trust on things they can do, I mean, it is going instead of creating acceptance in the group, it's going to create rejection. It's like,
yeah,
she wants to be the one who does it all. So that it is not good. So instead of making things better, it makes them worse.
yeah,
That's true.
yeah. So, in your opinion, was she a good choice for the position?
There is okay. It is yeah, but the point is that okay, I may think that she may need time, but the problem is that the hospital doesn't have time.
Exactly.
That is the point. Okay, I want to be someone. I try to imagine for a moment. I am one of the CEOs in the hospital. Okay, so then I saw potential in this person, and I mean, she had a great. She has a great spirit. She's very motivated, but the way she's doing it, it is not helping. Even though she has the intentions and she is trying to, what you mentioned a moment ago about trying to do everything on her own instead of fixing things, is getting things worse. So I may need to talk to her.
Yeah.
I may need to talk to her and probably ask her what needs to be done. But it is hard to continue, you know? If thinking on a hospital, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So my thought on the whole thing is she's brand new right out of her nurse management training. Why did the director of nursing, so her boss, hire her for what he knew to be the hardest department in the hospital for someone that's brand new? Because
Go ahead.
That's just a way to break someone's spirits from them being brand new. They're going to go there and be like, they're all hyped up because they just finished their training. And then instead of giving them an area that they can learn in, maybe a mediocre department that they still have to do some work, but not something so bad as this unit, then she could at least learn what she needs to do to build a better culture in that, and then progress to a harder situation. I feel like the director of nursing was kind of probably desperate to get a new manager in there. And honestly, I don't think that was really fair to Barbara, because I don't think that she's ready to take over that position in that department, because that department has years of disarray. It's been, I mean, it's so bad that it's known throughout the hospital as a bad department. So I just can't understand why he'd go and put someone so new in the department that obviously needs someone with experience of turning departments around.
Maybe okay, let's think on possibilities, okay? Maybe the person who put her in charge, as you mentioned, was desperate.
Yeah.
I didn't think, and he didn't think things through, okay? I mean, he didn't pay attention, he didn't think carefully about probably the consequences, or maybe he wanted to participate in the organization and use Barbara, and use Barbara's skills and things. Maybe she wanted to mentor. If he wanted to mentor, so then it's not Barbara's. Barbara is not the one to blame, right? So
Yeah.
so it is okay. But if you, as you mentioned a moment ago, if it is something really of great importance, like the thing that is going on in a hospital, you don't want to experiment, right? You want to.
Yeah.
It is not a good place to teach. Not the moment, not the office, not the area.
So another thought that I had is maybe because of the hiring freeze that the hospital had, maybe he wasn't able to hire someone from outside of the hospital. Maybe it had to be someone that was already working there.
So they didn't have the. Okay, yeah. Maybe that's what he was trying to do, but that was not a smart call then.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was, the article took place in like 2009. So it's when the economy here in the United States just it was terrible.
It was the time where the banks showed numbers that destroyed the investment of houses, and the Congress. The Congress tried to save the banks.
Yeah.
Democrats didn't want to pass the bill. Obama was becoming the new president, right? And the Republicans behind I don't know what the Republicans did, but they actually released the money, but the bankers didn't use the money with the people. They used the money in their executives. I remember that. Was that true? I mean, that's what I read. I mean, I wasn't there.
I was in high school, so I don't know all the major things that was going on. I do know there was a lot of fraud going on. And then the banks were lending money to people to buy houses, but those people couldn't afford those houses.
Exactly.
So
I even watched a movie about it, and it was unbelievable. I mean, so it was in those years.
Yeah, it was in those years. So I mean, everybody here was struggling. Businesses were afraid. So I mean, I could see why they did it, but I don't understand why you would keep it in place for a department that's understaffed and is struggling.
Exactly.
I feel like you'd want to make an exception there.
And you know what? As a manager, as a person in charge, I mean, you may, as you mentioned a moment ago, you may be short in money. You may not have the necessary resources to hire someone from outside. But you may probably think more carefully about hiring someone with the resources you have that would be more suitable for the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
because what it makes me think about the urgency of someone is that it is a hospital. And I am just trying to imagine things in a hospital. I mean, you need things to work the best you can in a hospital. I mean,
Yeah.
it is not going to be like, I mean, the greatest thing. I mean, workplace often face difficulties, but put a person in charge without the necessary experience, but with a good desire, a good will, it is not enough, right?
Yep.
But on the other hand, what? Okay, I don't know. Maybe there is another question.
What changes is she trying to make?
By the meeting, probably. Okay, by the meeting, okay, probably what she was expecting to do is to help the other see what was going on. Probably starting from there, some changes would come. No? But the problem is that since she was doing everything, that fact was not creating a good environment for the conversation with her, right?
Yep.
Okay, so then now, I mean, what's her experience? How many years did she have? I mean,
I can't remember off the top of my head how many years she had. I mean, she had some experience as a nurse, just not as a manager.
exactly. That's so others will not pay that much attention to her. I mean,
Yeah. But
and
I think having that meeting was really important because
exactly.
especially what she said at the end, because she was talking about bringing stuff to the team before making decisions. And I think that's a great thing to do because that shows her team that she cares about what they think. She wants the best for them and she wants to be able to hire new people that are gonna work well with them. Another thing that I liked is that she had talked about going to the director of nursing and getting the hiring freeze lifted so she could hire more people on their team so no one's going to be overworked. So I think that's a good thing she's trying to change.
Because actually the place needed more people to work.
Yeah, yeah, definitely needed more people to work. I mean, there's a risk that her director tells her no, that she has to just continue using the float pool. But if it were me in that case, then I'd ask for the people that are coming from the float pool of nurses to always be the same ones. Because the float pool nurses, they're already on the budget of the hospital. So if she's going to be using float pool nurses all the time anyways, why not just transfer some of them into her unit?
That's
Then they could
that's
at least learn what they're needing to do.
that's true.
And I'm sure there's some other stuff that goes into that. I mean, usually float pool nurses make a little more than other nurses. And they're usually not the same ones every time. But if you're rotating 4 nurses in the float pool, then just put them on the GSU's team so that they can learn the steps that they need to do so they're not having to be retaught every shift, because that would save stress for Barbara as well. She wouldn't have to worry as much about being there when the shift changes.
That's true.
Another thing that I think Barbara should do is assign a lead nurse for each shift, because one thing they said was that they weren't really a team. So I think that she should assign a lead nurse for each shift that holds a short briefing meeting at the beginning of each shift. Because it was saying that their responsibilities were assigned based on favoritism, and assigning someone to just randomly assign things at the beginning of each shift, get rid of that. And it doesn't have to be one of the nurses that's been there for 30 years. It could be one of the newer nurses that's doing all that, whoever she feels could do best. And then she had talked about doing raises instead of just an automatic everybody gets the same raise, which you had mentioned earlier, to do it based on their performance review for the year. So what I thought is, what if they did it that, okay, if they didn't show up to that briefing at the beginning of the shift, then it would be reflected on their performance review, and therefore it'd be reflected in their raise. So then they'd feel more obligated to go to that briefing meeting at the beginning of each shift, because they knew it could cost them money in the future. And that would be a way to get the older nurses to actually pay attention and listen to the younger nurses.
And what is important is when you pay people according to their performance, people tend to improve.
Oh yeah.
People tend to make things work.
Yep. Yeah, so I think that's one thing she could do to help boost performance in the unit, and have a better team bond, because then the whole team would be together at the beginning of each shift. And I definitely think she should continue to doing the off-site meetings each month. I don't think there's any reason that she should stop that. One of the things I think might come up with that, though, is if it's happening the same time every month, then one whole shift of employees is going to be cut out from that meeting. So she'll need to switch the time so that it's rotating the shifts that are able to attend. Because because if not, it's just going to be a certain shift that's giving all the feedback.
Which is not good.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one pretty large hurdle that she's going to have to get over, because I mean, it's probably they're probably doing it like in the evening, and so the night shift is not there being able to participate, and the only way to get around that is to do it in the morning. But that's going to be harder for her, because I'm sure she's the one there working days as well. So
yeah, I mean, what you were mentioning about delegating things, naming nurses to be in charge of groups, organizing the meeting shifts. The idea is to release her from the work she's doing.
Yeah,
the
overly like abundant work she's doing. I mean, she was going to be there for like 18 hours that day. No one should be there for 18 hours.
Exactly. I mean, you have to work in a healthy way.
Yeah.
You just need to relax. I mean,
yeah,
you are not supposed to carry the whole company on your back.
exactly.
Just do what is reasonable.
Yep. Yeah, and that's really it for the Barbara one. So